Republicans had a stage built in the Capitol, a desk set up, the presidential seal out. And about an hour before Trump was due to walk over and sign the biggest housing bill in 3 decades on the biggest issue for voters, affordability, he killed it on Truth Social. The bill he canceled passed 358 to 32 in the House and 85 to 5 in the Senate. He's holding it hostage for a voting bill that doesn't have the votes to pass and isn't really about voting. It's about voter suppression.
Let me tell you what's going on here. Trump has zero interest in governing. The housing bill was part of his State of the Union. He touted this. It was supposed to be that rare legislative victory. He cares only about splashy headlines. He cares only about the fundraising opportunities it gives him. The Save America Act is red meat for the MAGA base. It gives him a bridge to talk about stolen elections, and it is a fundraising windfall.
If you have this unified congressional control and White House control, it gives you the chance to at least pass something to show voters that you care, you feel their pain, you're trying to do something to help them. We ended up as Democrats back 16 years ago, basically trying to say, no, everything's fine. It's the meme. All is well, right? Who are you going to believe, us or your lying eyes? That didn't work so well. Republicans had the chance. They'd crossed the finish line. They passed the bill. It's something that really addresses a major pain point for Americans. They fumbled it at the goal line, or rather, Trump knocked the ball out of their hands because he's having a temper tantrum.
It shows that Trump just wants to fight, which is why he did this right ahead of the Senate lunch. It turned into a political cage match. Donald Trump arrived at the weekly Senate lunch and started yelling about Bill Cassidy, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and Rand Paul, the 4 Republicans who voted with Democrats the previous day to limit his war powers. Then he went after McCormick because he wasn't there to vote, and Mitch McConnell because he was in the hospital and couldn't show up and vote.
This is awful. These are the leaders of America. These are the leaders of our government. If you're a voter and you're not appalled by this, what are you doing? And from Trump's standpoint, of course, this is a matter of you reap what you sow, baby. He has gone on the war path against members of his own party, like Bill Cassidy, like John Cornyn, like Lisa Murkowski. He's targeted them. He's belittled them. He's called them losers. This is a consequence of the fact that he's really lost the plot, and he cares more about personal retribution. And also, he doesn't fundamentally understand that anyone can be not subservient to him. He only sees other people as supplicants, as working for him. And if they're not, he literally gets baffled.
Yeah, if there is one ray of hope out of this, is finally senators are standing up. They're doing their job, at least in that moment. A little bit too little, too late. But I think the clearer picture here is Trump just doesn't care about the midterms. He knows he's lost. You have 5 senators that any given day are just not going to be on his side, and blowing up the whole thing shows that he was more interested in the fight.
Or it's not all about retribution, because there's an alternative theory here, which is he's being sneaky. He is trying to actually make a strategic maneuver. He may have concluded that he has no chance in the midterms the way things are going, so his only opportunity to save himself is to somehow crush the vote. And we saw 2 moves this week that kind of cut in opposing directions when it comes to Trump's ongoing efforts to try to crush people's right to vote. This week, a federal judge in Boston made permanent what had been a year-long temporary block on Trump's executive order requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote, ruling flatly that the Constitution gives that power to states and Congress, not the president. It's the clearest legal defeat yet for his election agenda. Matt, when a judge writes that the Constitution does not grant the president any specific powers over elections, that's about as blunt as a ruling gets. Does this actually stop Trump, or does he just find a way around it?
It's a problem for Republicans because it could be a winning issue that we've turned into a negative issue by the maneuvering, because it could have been an easy win. We could have had election integrity that actually seemed like it mattered with voter ID, and we can debate voter ID, but he would have had those votes. But he chose to go this route.
If we go with the theory that this was an intentional move, this whole blow up over the housing bill and his temper tantrum, because he's so hell-bent on getting the Save America Act, it hangs together, right? The Save America Act was intended to be a response essentially to this ruling a year ago that he couldn't accomplish this by executive order. So Congress would have to try to enact it. Make no mistake, this is a scorched earth approach. A 2025 University of Maryland study estimated that 21.3 million eligible American voters, these are Americans, American citizens, wouldn't have access to the kinds of citizenship documents that he would be requiring here. And that would disenfranchise 21 million American voters. It would take away their constitutional rights. When Kansas tried something similar 15 years ago, it blocked over 31,000 eligible citizens from being able to vote before the courts intervened. So this is a blunt force, scorched earth. I don't care if it wipes out some of my MAGA voters, because it'll probably wipe out more of the Democrats' voters, and the Hail Mary move. It's a sign of desperation if this is intentional.
I think it's intentional because you continue to see other pieces of the equation. The other piece is the mail-in ballots, which we saw this week with the postmaster who told senators that the USPS would refuse to deliver mail ballots in states that don't comply with the administration's new requirements. And those requirements include states providing lists of mail voters and ballot barcode information to the Postal Service.
It's illegal and constitutional dirty. It should be appalling to every American who values the Constitution. I don't care if you're a MAGA voter. Take a step back here. What you're saying is the president gets to decide who gets to vote and who doesn't, and gets to manipulate the Postal Service to say, these voters don't get the right to vote, because he's extorting them to be able to get their personal sensitive information about their voting history, their voting patterns, in order to be able to determine. He says, I'm just checking that they're citizens. Shenanigans. Does anyone trust this administration when they get their hands on your personal sensitive information to do something clean and legal with it? Absolutely not. I fully believe that they intend to use this information to figure out from people's voting patterns who tends to vote in favor of Democrats, and to drum them out and make sure that their absentee ballots mysteriously don't arrive. Don't forget, 8 states in our union have mail-in voting only. So all of the voters in those states would potentially lose their ability to vote this November. That's how extreme this is. And somehow, with a straight face, the head of the Postal Service can say, yep, that's the plan. That's what we're doing. It is one of the great outrages that I've seen in an administration that is full of outrages.
What are those 8 states? A lot of them are Democrat strongholds that by doing it, you're going to restrict. Look,
yes, it's a feature, not a bug, right?
Right, exactly. So the dirty secret here is this is the swampy government that Trump said he was going to stop, is pulling those levers. And now he's trying to use it to stop people from voting. The only reason he's doing this is to try to keep Democrat voters in those states, because you're exactly right, hoping that we're not going to lose enough Republican voters to matter. But it also allows him to go back to his favorite topic, which is stolen election and mail-in ballots, and another fundraising to push. This is all the world according to Donald Trump. And that's why we see this. And that's why we're manipulating elections. And we're going at the most sacred thing of America, which is our ability to vote.
Lest we get accused of Trump derangement syndrome and only focusing on the GOP, we should note that Democrats had their own problems emerge this week after 3 very progressive Democratic socialist candidates prevailed in primary elections in New York. There is a distinct amount of nervousness pervading Democratic Party discussions right now, the sense that the progressive left is in the ascendancy, and this could continue to be a trend that plays out in other primary elections for the remainder of this year, and also be used as a cudgel by Republicans to beat us about the head with the standard charge that we are a bunch of lefty, socialist, woke, you-know-whats.
The mayor backing and replacing incumbent Democrats and reshaping the party. This is a hostile takeover. This is a big deal. It really is. And from Republicans, it gives us that glimmer of hope, that thing that we can hang our hat on, because we will use this to bludgeon every single Democrat that runs. We are going to try and tie it to them. From a political perspective, it probably makes the map a little bit more competitive, but it does give us a welcome glimmer of hope.
The part that we're all nervous about is, as much as we all want to be a big tent in the Democratic Party, I'm more of a traditional centrist Democrat myself. The evidence is that more centrist Democrats have roughly a 1 to 2 point advantage in swing districts, in close elections. And that matters when elections in this country have become so razor thin. That makes us nervous, in addition to the overall messaging advantage that it might hand to the Republican Party.